Good morning, good morning, good morning. You are watching the Couples Academy show. My name is Lakeisha Hines, and I am joined today with the General, Mr. Rod. Mr. Rod today, and I have Mr. Roland today. Maybe I need to be Rakisha today so we can be three R's. What y'all think? Change my name to Rakisha today so it could be the 3R.
There
That's
is but
great.
one Lakeisha.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You guys, we're so excited about today's topic. We have so many couples that we work with, and there's one spouse who's always complaining about the other spouse complaining. Right? It happens all the time. And a lot of it has to do with improper communication, not having effective communication. Sometimes we're in these relationships and we just have these nagging feelings that might be going on for days, possibly weeks, and you just can't shake it. It's a feeling like, man, I'm just not happy in this relationship. And I just wish my spouse would meet my needs better than what they are doing. And then when you get to that point, you cannot help but to blurt out how you're feeling, hoping that that's going to make things better, when in actuality it does the complete opposite. Because what's the key word there? Blurt. You haven't taken the time to really think through what your issue is and how you need to go about resolving it. And so complaining is one of the most common communication problems in relationships. What about you, Roland? Have you experienced this with any of your clients? Complaining about complaining?
Absolutely. You said it perfectly. One spouse is always complaining about the other spouse complaining, not realizing that they complain a lot as well. And we want what we want when we want it, how we want it. We become like spoiled brats. Everybody's complaining about the littlest thing. And it's unfortunate because we can't hear each other when we're always complaining. And so it is a very real thing. And it goes back to that key word, communication, that you spoke on.
Yeah. So general, man, talk to me. Is it wrong? Is it wrong to express what it is that you want and need? Is this complaining? Is this wrong? Should we not be doing it?
Of course, we should be expressing to our loved one what we need, what we expect, and the boundaries that needs to be in the relationship. Um, Complaining can be healthy if the motives are right and if the tone is right and if the goal, I will say, it's right. Um, and then sometimes, Keisha, the receiver is using it as a defensive mode.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is that the one spouse is expressing themselves, a need, a want, a desire, and the other spouse doesn't want to hear it. They got the defenses up. So their tool that they choose to use is you always complaining versus
Oof.
really hearing them and
Oof.
understanding where this request is
Yes.
coming from.
Yes. I love it. And I think it's important. You touched on something. I think it's important that we identify what complaining is versus communicating, because they are different. And
Yes.
we're saying all the time, communicate, communicate, communicate. We know communication literally is like the top reason why couples are in marital discord and why they're disconnected and why they divorce. If we be completely honest, is that they haven't figured out how to communicate. So when you complain, you're expressing negative feelings, something that you're dissatisfied with, or the person themselves you're dissatisfied with. Complaining about your partner to your partner, literally what that does is decreases the level of intimacy between the two of you. And it's counterproductive because that's one of the things that, especially the ladies, we're always asking for. We need more intimacy. We need more intimacy. So when we complain about our partner to our partner, that weakens our intimacy and our closeness. And again, distance, that's the last thing we want. We're trying to feel closer and less resentful. But if you're constantly complaining instead of communicating, then you're going to continue to create negative feelings in your spouse also. Because when we're complaining, we're typically being critical. We're being
Yes.
negative, and we're using, you said one of the words, right? Always. We're saying words like you always or you never. But when
Mhm.
you communicate, you're not trying to change your partner's behavior. You're not being critical of your partner. What you're doing is simply telling them about yourself
Mhm.
and telling them about what you need. And more importantly, you're going to be telling them how you're going to meet your own needs
Mhm.
better, because we're often focused on them and what they're doing and what they're not doing, and we don't focus on the part that we need to control, right?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. So let's jump in. As we're trying to break down to you guys how to move from complaining to closeness, there's some questions that we want you guys to think about before you actually engage in that conversation with your spouse. Because a lot of times, like I said, we'll just blurt out whatever it is that we're thinking and feeling, and we haven't taken the time to process what it is that we're thinking and feeling, and to come up with a strategy or a game plan with how to communicate what it is that we're trying to communicate. So, we're going to give you 6 questions that you can ask yourself, not your spouse, ask yourself before you take an issue to them. And the very first one is, what is your complaint?
Oh, yeah.
What is the issue? Get to the root of what it is. When you take the time to figure out what exactly is your issue, then you actually can look at the spaces where you need to do something and the spaces where maybe your partner needs to do something. Instead of lashing out at them, you're taking the time to think it through. Roland, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, you definitely have to express your complaint in a mild mannered way and be able to voice what that is. So oftentimes we don't express our complaint, and then what happens? Resentment builds up because you're not doing what I expect you to do, but you
Mhm.
haven't even expressed what you want done. And that's what happens. Now we have an attitude. Now we can't function or make progression because we have not voiced our concern. We have not voiced what our complaint is. We become resentful. We become judgmental and angry over things that your spouse doesn't even know that you need. And so you have to be able to voice your complaint, say what's wrong, say what it is that you need.
Absolutely.
It's very hard to have a complaint if you don't know what it is, or have a constructive conversation if you don't know what you are complaining about, if you don't know what the root is for the complaint. So you're absolutely right, understanding first. And I like how you teed it up, Lakeisha. Questions to ask ourselves first before we present it to our spouse. What am I really complaining about?
Hmm.
What is the issue, or what is the concern, or what is the lack that I need to communicate so we can move forward?
Yeah, I love what LaShawn said. LaShawn Jackson said, complaining only makes the person feel worthless. Wow. Powerful. You're right. Because again, when we're complaining, we're usually expressing negative things. We're not complaining about good things that our spouses are doing. We're not complaining, oh my gosh, I really do not appreciate you taking that trash out last night. I really don't appreciate you washing the car last night. I really do not appreciate you taking the kids to school this morning. You don't hear that, right? You don't hear that. You hear the opposite of that. I wish you would take the kids more. I wish you would give me more sex. I wish you would
Hmm.
stop complaining, right? So, anyway, it's usually very negative what we're doing. So, it is important, again, to get to the root of what the actual complaint is. All right. Number 2, second question. Do you know how to self calm? And that self calming really is about you getting to this breaking point. You have maybe held back from saying what it is that's really bothering you. You've been trying to brush it off, you've been trying to ignore it. There are 3 things that you can do when there's unwanted behavior in your relationship. You can either ignore it, endure it, or try to cure it. Those are your 3 options. You can ignore, endure, or cure. So if you've gotten to a place where you've just been ignoring, right? I'm ignoring, and that's not working. And you say, you know what? I'm just going to try to endure this situation
Mhm.
because I just don't see it changing. I really, really don't. The endurance is painful. Think about it. When you have to endure something, it usually doesn't feel good. So, what
Mhm.
happens when you're experiencing that pain? You're feeling resentment and bitterness, frustration, anger. That's when all of that stuff sets in. And so now you're upset, you're angry, and then you said, "This is the day. This is the moment that I'm going to tell that sister how I'm feeling. I'm going to tell that brother how I'm feeling." And you just go all in and you're upset and you're angry. So, Ryan, how do you think that conversation is going to go?
Oh, it's gonna go great, Lakeisha. It's gonna go. It's gonna go great. It's gonna go great. The person that has finally had enough is gonna get it all out, get it off their chest. They're gonna feel good afterwards because they've emptied their cup. And as we say, they may win the battle, but
Mm,
they're gonna lose the war.
yes, sir.
You know, you I'm not gonna say you don't have the right to explode, but let's replay the whole process. You chose to bottle it up.
Mm,
You chose to endure. You chose to let it just go. You chose to, okay, I'm just gonna sit here. I'm not gonna say anything. And then finally, as they say, the straw that broke the camel's back,
uh huh.
and you explode, and your spouse is caught off guard. Because
Yes.
again, if we're studying one another, there's
Mm-hmm.
certain things we begin to expect,
Mm-hmm.
right or wrong. But
Yeah.
if that's the pattern, that's the pattern. So when one spouse decides to change the pattern, then it will cause disruption, and
Mm-hmm.
that usually becomes a very volatile, explosive situation that if not careful, nothing good can come from it.
Yeah. So again, it's important to self calm. It's extremely important to self calm. And one of the things that you can do is to think of three things that you love about your partner, or three ways that your partner has showed their love for you recently. What are we doing? We're shifting our thinking. We're shifting our thinking from the negative to the positive. If I were to ask everybody who can hear the sound of my voice, tell me three positive things about yourself. It will take you a minute. You have to sit there like, hmm. But if I say, tell me three negative things about yourself, oh, this, that, like you could give me more than three things. We naturally default to the negative.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that is what we do in relationships as well. We do it to ourselves, we do it to our spouses. Excuse me. So instead of focusing on what's going wrong, let's think about what's going on positive. And that can help you to calm down because you realize it's not as catastrophic as I thought it was. It's not as bad as I thought it was if we shift that thinking. So I just think, if you don't have any other ways to self calm, you don't know how to breathe, you don't know how to meditate, think of three positive things, at least three positive things about your spouse, and see if that helps you to calm down. All right, number three question. Do you take responsibility for your happiness, brother? Roland, I am going to you because let me tell you something. You
Mhm.
have a way of whipping the people into shape as it pertains to this happiness thing because I've heard you before, and this seems to be something that really let me see, what's the terminology I can use? Like makes you hotter than fish grease. That sounds like something Rod would say, right? So so I want you to respond to this one.
Well, I think I think I'm so sensitive to it because for a long time in my early years and my younger age, I had a tendency to be sad, to think that everything was for somebody else, or I was waiting for someone to come and rescue me when
Mm,
I had the responsibility to go after the pursuit of happiness for myself. And a lot of
mhm.
times we take what's happening and base our happiness off of that,
Yeah.
as opposed to going after the joy that we know that we have in our hearts and let that catapult our happiness. And
Yeah.
so when we take out the time to have our self-reflection and have the desires of our own heart, then it can help us move into that place of what we deem to make us happy or to make us satisfied with ourselves and with our lives. And like you said, to your point, we always default to the negative as opposed to uplifting the positive. And we allow other people to tell us who we are without telling ourselves who we are.
Wow.
That's the key right there.
Yes.
And really, you have to be confident in who you are to maintain your happiness, to even know where to start to get your happiness.
Hmm.
And so when we do that, we change the game for ourselves, and we allow other people to know the game has been changed, because I'm only going to answer to who I know that I am, not by who you call me.
Well, there's that.
Yes, sir.
So yes, I 100% agree with you. Like we have to take responsibility for our discontent, our dissatisfaction, our discord, all of those things, and we have to move away from blaming our spouses and commit to our own pursuit of happiness. And I love that you said that, pursuit of happiness, because that's what it is. If you're not happy, you need to be chasing after that thing just like you do a relationship with God. So you guys, listen, this was just the first three questions. We still have three more. I see your comments. We are going to respond to your questions as well. So do not go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. Welcome back. Welcome back. I want to say good morning to Felicia, Saved One, Cali Power Couple, Daryl, LaShawn, Aaron, Tori, Glenn. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you so much. You guys are faithful and we appreciate it. You are officially members of the Couples Academy family. So we appreciate you coming to this family reunion every single day. We appreciate it so, so much. So I want to jump to some of you guys' comments and questions. I think there's some good stuff going on in the chat right now. So let's start with Glenn. Glenn says, what if you express yourself to your spouse, but they keep saying you're just judging, but all you're doing is telling them what you like and want and see what bothers you? If you voice your opinion, but they come back and say all you do is judge. General, what do you say to this?
Well, I will first say, and try not to use absolutes or always or any of that, because there's always contrary to every situation. But that is a common response within a relationship based on where the couple is in the relationship. If it's still early in the recovery, and I'm not saying this is a scenario that the person is asking the question is, but if the relationship is going through a tough time and on the early stage of recovery, there's still a lot of hurt that's there. There's still a lot of taking things personal that you have to deal with early on. But regardless of what the response or the reply or the reaction is, as the person that's doing the expressing to their spouse, their loved one, what they need, what they like, what they hope for, and if that's their spouse is receiving it in a different manner, that shouldn't stop the messenger from communicating it. Maybe you change how you say it. Or
Yes.
maybe you pose the question, okay, well, spouse, sweetheart, darling, honey, this is how I'm feeling. Obviously, you're feeling a certain way every time I bring it up.
Yeah.
So, what is a better way that I can communicate this so you don't think that I'm judging? Because not every message is going to be received the way the messenger wants it
Yes.
to or is trying to communicate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the thing is, this is what we find all the time. And Roland, you confirm or correct. But when we're working with couples, like literally, we can say the exact same thing the spouse has been saying for the past 15 years. And they receive it from us, but they can't receive it from their spouse, right?
It happens all the time. For whatever reason, it just seems like coming from a different voice. I don't know. It just magnifies something or sheds new light on something that has been going on the whole time. But for whatever reason, taking it from somebody else, from a third party, from a practitioner, from an expert, for whatever reason, it seems like it solidifies the very thing that has been said all along.
Yes, sir. And Glenn, I don't know your situation. I don't know if you guys are in infidelity recovery right now. If there's been infidelity, I don't know, because all you're talking about is, the ability to be able to express your wants and needs, and some of those nuances and things that nag at you. Um the fellas are laughing because it's an inside thing. But anyway, some of those things that really tug at you, and you're wanting to be open and vocalize what it is that's going on with you. And that's a great thing. But again, as Rod said, sometimes it's your delivery. Sometimes it's the person who's receiving, they have so much hurt and pain built up that they can't receive. And so when we are delivering the same message, it's not laced with has past hurts and pains, because we weren't there. We're just coming into your situation, and so we don't have all that baggage, layered with what it is that we're saying to you. So we think that that's why you're able to receive it better from us. So Glenn, I think maybe you can start also, when you want to have one of those conversations, with asking your spouse, what is it that she wants, what is it that she needs, and let her speak first. Then you respond with the things that you want and need. Let's have a conversation, honey, baby, sugar. I love that, Rod. That get me every time. Yes. What do you want, sir? So I love that you're starting it off with the sweetness, right? And really telling her this is about both of us. It's not just about my enjoyment, my pleasure, my satisfaction. It's about our mutual enjoyment, pleasure, and satisfaction. So, how can I serve you? Right? Start that conversation off like that. That will lower her defenses. This is not manipulation. You really do need to know what it is that she wants and needs. And then maybe she'll be more open to receiving whatever it is that you're saying that you want. But one of the things that we teach at Last Chance Weekend is how to properly communicate with your spouse. We're teaching you how to do marriage right, because many of us haven't been taught that, right? So we have Last Chance Weekend coming up in what, 2 weeks? Is it 2 weeks? But it's
One
not
week.
too late.
Roughly
There's
one
still
week. Yeah.
spots open. So don't miss the boat. Okay. Don't miss the plane. Don't miss the train. Gas up the automobile. Do whatever you got to do to get there. You do not want to miss another opportunity to have the marriage of your dreams. All right, let's go to our next question. And it is, what's the opposite of my complaint? Ask yourself, what's the opposite
Hmm.
of my complaint? Because your complaint might be the relationship is boring. All they ever want to do is blah, blah, blah. But the opposite might be spending quality time together away from the TV. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I know I have cursed at some people now, telling you to turn that TV off. Listen, sex therapists will tell you there should not be a TV in your bedroom. There should be no desk, no laptops, no desktop, nothing but a bed and anything else that helps you with bedroom activities. Because when you enter into that space, the only thing on your mind should be the other work that you need to be doing, not the work that you do for a paycheck, but your other work, relaxation, enjoyment. That is the only thing that should be on your mind when you enter that space. So sometimes we got to turn off the TV. Maybe the complaint is they don't appreciate everything that I do. Well, maybe it's time to focus on appreciating each other, because the complaint that you have about not being appreciated, you may not be showing your appreciation for your spouse as well. So again, there may be some work that you need to do. The complainer often cannot see themselves. I don't know why that is. What's that saying? One finger pointing.
One, one
What's that?
finger pointing at somebody, you got three fingers pointing back at you.
There it is. There it is. So we got to be careful when we start all this complaining, because guess what? You open up the door for your spouse to come back and tell you all that you're not doing and all that you're not giving to. So ask yourself, what's the opposite of my complaint? And say that. Next question. What do you want? What do you want? And Roland, I'm about to alley you, because here's the situation, right? When we're talking about what do you want, a lot of times as men, do you often find yourself in a position where your lady has said, you know what? Not y'all, because I know your wives are perfect. They don't do this. So we'll talk about your clients, where you've had your male clients who have said, she said she wanted A. I gave her A, but then A didn't get me a A. A got me a F. Like, it's not what she wanted. Has that been your experience with any of your clients?
Absolutely. I've seen it time and time again, because what happens is, here again, if we don't individually know what we want, and we think we know what we want, and we express what we want, but then we get the total opposite in return, we have
Mhm,
caused more of a problem. And
mhm,
so if the spouse is saying, I've seen it happen in real time, the spouse say, well, I need X, Y, and Z. And he'll say, well, I gave you X, Y, and Z. But then she'll say, well, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
Well, you have to come. Listen, I've been sitting here and we keep saying the word complaint, complaint. If you break it up, complain. Just
mhm,
complain what it is that you want. And that alleviates any confusion, that alleviates any misunderstanding of what it is that you want. And it takes away the complaint and turns into compliment,
mm,
or complete, right? Because now I know what it is that you want. I know
mm.
how to execute what it is that you want. And that
Well,
takes away all, any excuse of you not being happy and satisfied.
okay,
There was
now
a
on the
bomb
flip
drop
side,
there. Yeah.
hold
There's
on, hold on, hold
okay.
on, General. You can circle back around. We're gonna sandwich this thing. On the flip side of this, right? There are times where we ask our men, what do you want? And we give you the thing that you say that you want. But if it's not done in the way that you visualize it in your mind that it should go or should look, feel, or sound like, then you're disappointed too. So it's not gender specific. The difference is you guys are a lot more simple than we are. And this is not intelligence, intellect. That's not what I'm talking about. Three things y'all need. We need a lot of things. We need a whole lot of things, and it changes. You guys, for the most part, are consistent, but a lot of times you're just not clear in your communication. So when you're not clear in your communication, you leave us to try to figure it out, and we don't always give you what it is that you want in the manner that you want it. Go ahead, General. My bad.
Well, no, I was going to say first off that complain, that's a bomb. That's a bum drop. But that's true, because nobody, male or female, are mind readers uh, in general. I mean, we have to communicate what we want. We have to communicate what we expect. But to Lakeisha's point, sometimes the person doesn't know what they want, so they can't communicate it. Or I know most people are visual people, so they have an image in their mind. They communicate based on what that vision looks like to them, but then the act itself, or the feeling and emotion that they're expecting from that, is unfulfilled a lot of times because they have nothing to compare it to, or they had bigger expectations than what they really knew or thought of. So
Absolutely.
having those understanding that, hey, there is credit for trying, but at the same time, that's just the starting point to let's have a conversation so we can come plain and move to completeness. I like that, Ro. I think I'm gonna steal it.
I think I'm gonna steal it too. Complaining to compliments.
Yeah.
Yes. Last question, you guys. Do you have the right timing? When your
Yes.
man is in the middle of the playoffs game, this is not the time to come to this brother and talk to him about some complaints, something that he is not doing wrong. That is not the time. When you see him, he is yelling at the TV. He is excited because his favorite team is playing. This is not the time, my sisters, to come to this man and try to tell him about some complaints. My brothers, when she is in the middle of watching the housewives of wherever, this is not the time to come bring some complaints to her about what she is or is not doing. Okay. So we have to make sure our timing is right. And also that we are coming to our spouses. And Roland said this beautifully, with a loving tone and a calm manner when they are receptive. And the best way to know if it's a good time is to say, is this a good time?
Yes.
Like, let's not make it deep. Let's just ask, hey, I want to share some things with you. Is this a good time? And if they say yes, proceed. If they say no, pull back, save it for later. Any final thoughts, you guys?
I just want to say we just have to. There is a way to move from complaints to closeness, and we should all desire to want to be close to our spouses.
Mhm.
And if we just communicate in a better way, I believe that we can allow growth to take place. And don't be distracted by outside forces to
Mhm.
give you a reason to complain inside. Don't
Mhm.
allow outside forces to give you a reason or justification to complain inside. As long as we're watering our grass on the inside, we won't be complaining about anything going on the outside. So just come together, stay together.
Amen.
Come together and talk so you can come together. So, you've been watching the Couples Academy show. My name is Lakeisha Hines. You had Mr. Roland Bradley and Mr. Rod Ford today. I know we didn't get to all your questions, but guess what's happening tomorrow? Ask the experts. Come back tomorrow so you can get your questions answered. Guys, we appreciate you. We hope you have a phenomenal rest of your day, and we will see you on the flip side tomorrow. Have a good day, you guys. Bye.